Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast in a brand new episode. Today I'm joined with Peter, and me and Peter met, I think, around 2 weeks ago, I believe. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah, I asked Peter to come on my podcast, and he accepted the invitation, which I'm very grateful for because not everyone does. So it's really nice that Peter did. We're going to be speaking about Doctor Who, Peter's work, and I'm going to talk a little bit about myself to Peter as well. So yeah, it's great to finally have you on, Peter.
lovely. Nice to see you.
Yeah. So I guess before we get on with anything, obviously we met at the Comic Con. Was that your first time at that Pacific Comic Con, like Milton Keynes?
Yeah, it was first time for a Comic Con connected with Doctor Who. The only similar experience I've had I suppose two similar experiences. One was a very genteel one because I wrote a musical based on the books by E.F. Benson about two characters called Map and Lucia. And so I went down and spoke to the fan club for those books in Rye and Sussex. But the other things a bit more similar to the Who Comic Con was the Terry Pratchett Discworld convention at the Adelphi Hotel in Liverpool because I directed and produced and acted in an adaptation of a Terry Pratchett novel called Guards, which starred Paul Darrow, famous, known to some of your uh, uh, what viewers as Avon from Blake Seven. And here's the poster of him behind me in Guards, which we toured for 2 years across the country with great success. Paul Darrow sadly no longer with us, although coincidentally the BBC contacted me 6 months ago to say they're bringing out a new Blu-ray of Blake Seven, and they were doing a documentary about Paul Darrow, and they came to interview me about working with him.
Very nice. So
That's coming out, I think, later this year.
later this year. Okay. Okay. Um. So within the whole kind of going on Doctor Who. So that would have been a few years ago now. It's crazy to believe how time flies.
Well,
So,
they film it. Uh, they film the Christmas specials a long way in advance. I filmed my episode in the end of 2000 and oh God, when was it? I think I filmed at the end of 2003, November 2003, assuming it was going to be shown on the Christmas Day of 2003, but it wasn't. It was shown on Christmas Day 2004. So it was shot 13 and a half months ahead, nearly 14 months ahead, which seems crazy.
yeah, because it's crazy how in far in advance they film.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's to do with all sorts of complicated reasons, such as not knowing how long the current Doctor Who is going to be with them.
yeah.
They have to be prepared for all those eventualities. And also, I suppose, spending as much of the Disney money while it lasted.
Yeah. Like, how? What's your opinion on that, Peter, about the whole Disney thing?
Well, I'm not really the best person to ask about this because I'm not a Doctor Who specialist. Um, but I have to say, the episode I was in was incredibly spectacular. But I was rather taken aback when I saw the episode because a lot of friends said, "Oh, I suppose that opening scene was all CGI. I suppose that was just shot in a little room with a green screen. And I had to say, no, it was a huge enterprise. I was on the second or third floor, I think, of the old town hall in Manchester. No, not Manchester, Cardiff. It was supposed to be Manchester, but it was Cardiff where we filmed it. CGI, obviously, to create the effect of a World War II bombing raid. But it was extraordinary because it gets to a stage where the CGI um, seems to overtake the reality. And so nobody thinks that I'm actually on a balcony 60 foot up, um, and that it's all just done in a computer, which is a shame in a way. But I suppose that's, and this is a generational thing. You've got to bear in mind that when people, I mean, the director at the time said to me, "So who was your top Doctor Who? Tom Baker, John Pertwee?" And I had to say, "No, it was William Hartnell." I was in primary school when the series started, and so I can still remember the first episode, um, and how exciting that was. And of course, first episode that was before there were any monsters or aliens, and everyone rushed into school the next day talking about it. And by the time the Daleks arrived, the country had gone crazy. Now, when you look at those old episodes, uh, they look, you know, they look rather creaky. But at the time, I have to tell you, it was a sensation. It's difficult for people now to understand that. Um, and so I still have a bit of a nostalgia for Doctor Who, where it was all more naturalistic, um, and look like the real world, but with aliens. And it's very difficult to reach a good compromise between the two. Um, but I know that the younger audience for the more recent Doctor Who's have been brought up on video games, and so they're used to everything, very colourful, very um, polished, very glossy.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but I think it's a fine balance to strike. But there you are. I'm much older than the typical Doctor Who audience now.
I think that's what happens. I think we're all get at that stage, aren't we? Like
Yeah,
in um yeah. But it's interesting like the way you say like how much influence or like how much you saw like Disney kind of involved in your time on the show because of course looking on it, um from my point of view, I guess, it's hard to notice sometimes what they used sometimes, but
yeah,
um, like of course, the TARDIS, obviously, and maybe the dinosaur in the episode that you was in.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's like maybe bigger sets and stuff like that. So
I think when you've got the money, you spend it. Um, and it's the same in any business, not just in television. If you've got more money, then you spend that money and you go crazy with it. I just wish they spent a little more on the actors' salaries.
yeah, yeah.
um, because with this there was a Disney what you call a buyout. Instead of receiving repeat fees every time it's shown or every time a DVD is sold, they do a buyout, which is a flat fee, and then they can do whatever they want with it worldwide for 5 years, which is a long time. Um, but that's life, things change.
Yeah,
But it was a fun job to do. Uh, Chuti was lovely to work with. Of course, I only had the one very short scene with him. Um, the crew were all very nice. Um, so it was a jolly experience. It was great to play something in lots of makeup and fake hair and everything. And when I was asked by my agent to do a self tape. A self tape, for those who don't know, is when you don't go in for an audition. And auditions are very rare these days. What happens with television is you get sent a script and you're told to record yourself doing the scene. And you normally just get somebody to speak off camera to do the other lines. But when I got the script, I thought, well, this scene doesn't make any sense unless you've got the character moving around the room. It doesn't mean anything if he's just standing looking at the camera. Um, and so I recruited my partner and a neighbour's wife to come and play uh, Doctor Who and my wife. And then I got someone else to film it. And I thought, well, I may as well dress for it. And so I put on a tweed suit and I'm because I'm of a certain generation, I learned how to do my own makeup when I went to drama college, which everybody used to do. You did your own, not for television, but for theatre. And so I made a moustache. I made a very heavy moustache and bushy eyebrows, and put on red, cheeks to make myself look older, and um, and then filmed it. And when I turned, and I got the job, and then when I turned up for the makeup test a week ahead of filming, the makeup lady said, "Where's your moustache?" And I said, "Well, I don't have a moustache. I made it." I said, "Do you want me to make another?" She said, "No, no, no. We've got plenty of moustaches." She said it was very convincing. I thought it was real. I said, "Well, we were taught by the best in my day." But yeah, so it was great having all of the paraphernalia put on. And it was quite funny having bits of hair attached because I shave my hair twice a week. Um, and so they had to stick little bits of grey wispy hair on here and bushy up my eyebrows to make me look suitably crusty and old. But it's great. I've got a couple of photos from the ComCon that they gave me, uh, which I'll probably have framed.
I was thinking, Peter, when we met the other week, where is your moustache?
Yeah, where is it?
Yeah.
I did grow one once for a part, but no, generally I prefer to be clean shaven. So and then you can stick things on, like like moustaches or wigs or false beards. Um, so my face is a blank canvas.
It's 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 quite interesting how what people do for a part, isn't it? Because for you and your experience, I think you've also got, I think Matt Smith, when he was the Doctor, he had a beard at one stage. So having to you have to be really committed to a role to do these things.
Oh yeah. You get things where people put on a huge amount of weight or lose a lot of weight. Um, I've never really had to do anything extreme for a role. Um, but then I've not done a huge amount of screen work. Most of my work has been in the theatre, either as an actor or director. Um, um, and I suppose the most uh, extreme thing I've done as a performer was to be blind for an entire stage performance. And that's surprisingly difficult. People would think, well, that's easy. You just shut your eyes or you keep your eyes open and pretend to be blind. But from my point of view, I had to be really blind for the thing to be convincing and for me to be psychologically in the character. So I did wear dark glasses, but I did have my eyes closed for the entire performance, played by Samuel Beckett, called Endgame. And being blind, it was extraordinary. Taking on a disability because I then had to communicate entirely by sound and touch with the other actor. Um, and people said, and even the director said, well, why don't you just keep your eyes open? You're behind dark glasses. You'll be able to see through them. The audience won't see your eyes. And I said, no, I need to feel as if I really am blind and listening more attentively, feeling with my hands for real and not cheating. So I suppose that's the closest I've ever come in my life to what people call method acting.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you have to, I guess, learn how to do it as well. Um, at the weekend, it was Father's Day. As time was recording, it was Father's Day at the weekend. And I went to this play called, I think, the Curious Boy Incident of George, I think it was called. Um, and
Not the
it's
curious incident of the dog in the nighttime.
yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, fantastic book. I've never seen the play, but the book, the original book, is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely loved it. Um, and it resonated slightly more with me, maybe, than with some other readers because I have an autistic nephew. Um, and so I sort of immediately understood that thing of intense focus on a particular thing that sometimes uh, people with autism have. But it's a great book. It's a great book, and I know the play must be fantastic because it was a huge success in the West End, and it gets done everywhere now.
Well, I actually went to because I have autism myself. Um, I went to a screening that actually it's for people that have autism.
Yeah,
Um, and it was really interesting. The person who was playing the main character because the amount of lines they had, and they were only young, and like
yeah.
it's really interesting. Like do the mannerisms and everything. So it it was really nice.
Well, they would have had uh, specialist sort of advisors to come in and say, or the young actor would have spent some time with some people with autism and discussed sort of how they focus on things slightly differently from people who don't have the condition. My nephew is my great nephew. For example, he has a thing about photography, and he's an absolutely fantastic, absolutely obsessive photographer, and he's just very, very good at it. But that's his thing. That's the thing he focuses on, if pardon the pun.
Yeah, because I think that you have like hyper fixations they call it,
Yeah,
and you have certain things that you really like it could be taking pictures, like you said. Maybe in my case, Doctor Who probably, if you count
yeah.
that.
Do you find? Do you think there are that it's a particular? It has a particular appeal for people with autism, Doctor Who, or fantasy in general.
Well, I done a series a few years ago, Peter, and I called it Doctor Who in Autism Celebrations. Um,
Oh,
and what I did was is I mixed it up. So I had some people who have autism and they like Doctor Who, and just people who
mm,
are Doctor Who, and I'm raising awareness of
mm,
autism. And I found a lot of people on the spectrum, for some reason, like sci-fi or Doctor Who. I don't know what it is, but there's some sort of link. And in the show, you have quotes, for example. In the show, a lot of people, a lot of fans, we had this ongoing theme when we were talking about Doctor Who that the Doctor shows methods that he could be autistic himself. Um, like Matt Smith Doctor, for example. He talked to himself a lot in the TARDIS, and he plays with the TARDIS, and that could be a stimming kind of thing. You know, when people have
mm.
autism, have that thing like a fidget toy kind of thing. Um, and like sometimes people with autism struggle to tell people how they feel. Um, David Tennant, for example, the 10th Doctor and the Girl in the Fireplace, where at the end of the episode he wasn't telling people how he actually felt. He said he's all right when obviously as the audience, we know he wasn't. So a lot of
Yeah.
people with autism, and in general, I'd say, struggle with that. So I think so. I think it is a
Yeah,
com
and I suppose the doctor, when you think going back all the way through, all the doctors, even back as far as Hartnell, they are people who have a, a, a degree of isolation because of who they are and what their mission is, and um, and uh, and they live in this in a world which is seen from a different perspective.
yeah.
It's interesting that I was surprised at how much fan mail I got after appearing in the Christmas special. I got quite a lot mainly it's requests for signed photos, but quite a few of them do mention um, autism in their letter to me. Uh, and I thought, is that general for Doctor Who fans, or is that for the ones who really are mega and want and are collectors? So they're completists. They want, photos and autographs from everyone who's ever been in it. But yeah, it's fascinating. I wonder if the same applies to, I don't know, Star Trek.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe because Doctor Who's a very famous show, and I think it wouldn't just be autism. It's going to be like all different type of things, isn't it?
Yeah,
Um,
and as I say, I think that central character is is the key to it. It's the fact that there is something autistic about the Doctor that makes him not a role model, but someone with whom you can identify.
yeah, because the Doctor in general, before Shooty's incarnation, 'cause I think that Shooty's incarnation was a bit different because he was a bit more outspoken. He could tell his feelings a little bit more. But I think,
Yeah,
especially doctors before him, um, were very struggling to tell people how they feel. Um, and that's a lot of people do relate to that. With autism and in everyday life. Everyone's different, but I think that's a good. It's good that people relate to the doctor, though. I think.
mm. um, and interesting because of your generation. I mean, what was your first contact with the series? It must have been from the Russell T Davies reboot, not from the
Yeah,
originals.
it was from 2005, from Rose, Christopher Eccleston's first episode.
Yeah,
And my Doctor Who, it started when my brother told me, watch this show called Doctor Who. And obviously me having autism, I said, oh, I'm gonna watch Doctor Who because I don't want to watch an episode. I don't want to watch a program about doctors and like nurses and stuff like that. And
yeah,
I was like, it's like, no, that's not what it's about. And it's like, okay, I gave it a go, and I was like, I haven't stopped since. I might have not enjoyed a certain era as much as another,
mm,
but I still watch it. So I still watch it. And it really helps me with, I guess, my personal issues as well. Like I have Crohn's. I don't know if you've heard of that, Peter. Like a chronic illness I have, and
yeah,
it's really like watching Doctor Who. Say if I'm in pain, it helps when I watch. I guess a comfort show.
yeah, yeah. It's an escape. Um, um, yeah, it's fascinating how certain types of film, play, music can have this effect on people. I mean, the healing effects of art should never be underrated.
Yeah. It's really cool because like I went when I was diagnosed with Crohn's I was in the last year of school, year 11, and they were doing exams, and in my year, because I went to a school where I have autism, like a special needs school they call it,
Hmm.
and because they changed the exam of drama, only about five of us or six of us could do it or were capable of doing it. And I was one of them. And at the time, I was getting diagnosed with Crohn's in hospital. And I was a multi-role character, so I was an important character. So they had to delay doing the exam because what they done, they made the exam more writing than actual drama. So it's almost like an English exam where you're writing about a
Yeah,
play while
yeah,
doing a little bit of a play of your own. And I was a
yeah,
multi-role character, so I played someone's wife, I played someone's officer, I played someone's brother, probably. I was all these different characters, and um, they were really understanding waiting for it, but it was very hard when you're thinking at the same time, I've got to be there doing that, but I can't. So
yeah.
it's difficult. It's difficult. Um, but I guess for you, Peter, how did you start going into acting? Did you do drama school?
I did plays at school and Gilbert and Sullivan operettas used to be very popular in schools. And then when I left school, I went to drama college for 3 years, um, and then worked in theatre and the odd bit of television and film, but I say mainly theatre. Um, my first TV job when I left drama school was in a very famous BBC series called I Claudius. I had a very small part playing with Derek Jacobi in a couple of scenes. Um, but I still get repeat fees from that because we, we didn't have things called buyouts, which we now have to do with Doctor Who.
Yeah,
So I still get repeat fees of £2.50 or something for a job I did 50 years ago.
yeah. Derek Jacobi. I wish he was longer in the actual like series of Doctor Who. Because he was the Master, and then he was John Sim. Um, I know he does audio, but it would have been nice. 'Cause I liked his Master for the little glimpse that we saw.
Yeah, I never saw it. I never saw it. He was
No.
it was he is a great actor.
Yeah,
Um, but and I can the other connection, of course, is uh, very few people, I suppose, the real fans remember the Master as played by Peter Pratt. Um, and I know Peter Pratt because he was the lead comic singer with the Doyley Cart Opera Company that did all the Gilbert and Sullivan operas. So he played all those famous roles in the Mikado and HMS Pinafore and Pirates of Penzance. He played all those roles. So when I found out that it was him that I saw as the Master when I was a kid, although um, of course, he was the main master at that period was Roger Delgado.
yeah. It's, it's so
But
cool.
these are all classically trained actors like myself and like Jacobi.
Yeah, it's so good that you get to do all this different kind of stuff. Um, but this is a hard question, Peter. It's hard to point out, but do you have like an achievement that you're most proud of that you've done?
Oh, that is very difficult. Because if you look on the wall behind me, you can see the
It's so good.
various plays that I've directed and been in, um, and uh, they all they all have memories, different sorts of memories. There is nothing to compare with being on stage or watching in an audience when you've directed something, or being on stage when an audience is laughing. Um, you can get a certain fulfillment from doing straight drama, but to hear 1,000 people laughing um, is unique, really. Naked Flame here, there were people sort of screaming, crying with laughter. Guards, the same. Um, when you get that, that's not to be matched.
Yeah, yeah. So as an audience member,
I'm going to have to.
yeah,
Uh, what time are we at the moment? Oh no,
one,
I've got another 5 minutes. It's just
oh,
that I've got a service call for a broken fridge coming in shortly.
yeah. I'll I'll ask you one more question, and then we will be finished.
Fire
Um,
away.
would you ever consider want to be the doctor one day?
Oh my God, yeah. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? Nobody's going to ask me. Nobody's going to ask me. It's not. That's not the way it works anymore. They only ever cast famous people, or people they see are about to become famous. I've missed that boat. I'd love to come and play a villain or the master, but again, these jobs only go to famous people now. So perhaps I can maybe if I was to play a Dalek, that would be terrific. I'd love that. One of my best friends, who died 5 years ago, was one of the Void. You know who they were? The Void from the very first series were hoping they'd be as successful as the Daleks. They weren't, but he was one of the Void. An actor called Peter Stenson. When he died, I produced his memorial service at St Paul's, the Actors' Church in Covent Garden, and we had quite a few Doctor Who fans came to that because they wanted to hear stories about him. And I was at drama school with the first Time Lady. I can't remember the name of the character, but that was played by Hilary Ryan,
Okay,
and she was at drama school with me.
that's really cool. Yeah. So you would happily be the doctor, but you never know. You might be in Doctor again and play something else.
Yeah, I hope so because I was in lots of makeup, so hopefully nobody would recognise me. A lot of people at the Comic Con seemed to think they were going to meet Dennis Lill, which took me aback. And then when I looked at the photographs, I thought, yeah, I do look like Dennis Lill in one of his sort of crusty old Colonel performances. So maybe I was channeling him.
Maybe if you do Comic Con again, bring like maybe your makeup or something to look more like it. I don't
Yeah, yeah.
know. But thank you, Peter. It's been really lovely talking to you.
And you too. It was terrific.
But yeah, thank you again, Peter. And
And thank you. And I was very thrilled that you asked me.
yeah, I'm very happy that you accepted because not everyone does.
Yeah.
Um, like some people do it. I'm happy when people do accept because it just shows how much of a really nice person they are. So thank you,
Ah.
thank you.
Or it could just be that they love seeing their face on the screen.
Maybe, and or they might want to just talk or
Yeah.
like just I guess have a nice time.
Yeah.
But oh, thank you, Peter. And if I see you at a Comic Con and I'm going again, I'll contact you and say I'm going, and
Oh, do. Let me
I'll
know.
you
You've
know,
got my details.
yeah. Well, thanks,
And
Peter.
thanks to all the fans out there.
Yeah. Thanks to everyone listening, watching today. We hope you've enjoyed this episode too, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.